puede poner esa silla aquí, poner ciertas cosas. Pero claro que yo voy a venir ese cambio, claro que me va a decir. Lo que pasa es que yo quiero llegar, por ejemplo, que vamos a empezar, yo quiero llegar a arrancar en de una vez. Y me estresa que el área mía, yo tenga que esperar que salgan algo. ¿Sabes? Yo quiero llegar con la concentración, que no está complementarme, que son las fotos. Yo quiero llegar a arrancar y no llegar a algo. Esa distracción. My peoples, my peoples. Welcome to another episode of Boxing for Breakfast, where you get your healthy dosage of sweet science early in the morning. We talking boxing. Y'all already know what it is. First of all, let me say happy Tuesday to everybody tuning in. Good morning. Salute to my boy Sai in the building. Underrated Will. What's the deli? The hydro grind. What's up, fellas? Check it, man. Um, wow. Tough situation. Bad news. What happened to AJ, and obviously is the topic of conversation. Everybody's talking about it. Horrible accident. Um, Grasshopper plus. Is AJ dead? No. AJ, he did suffer some injuries, but he's alive and well. Well, not well, but recovering. I'm not sure if he's still in the hospital. But it was a deadly accident. Multiple people who were in that vehicle with AJ lost their lives. And it goes to show you how life can be. Think about it. Just, what, a couple of weeks ago, AJ, put the beats on Jake Paul. And we were all talking about that. And Christmas, the holiday season. And look what happens. AJ's involved in an accident in Nigeria. And two of his team members ended up losing their life in that accident. Imagine you're on a trip somewhere and you're in an accident, and people who you're close with, because these guys are real close with AJ, they're traveling with him, and all of a sudden, that's it. They're gone, just like that. So let me just say, my peoples, we got to appreciate life. Got to appreciate every day, because you just never know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to be here. You don't know if the person next to you is going to be here. That's just life. And it's a tough situation. Obviously, anytime that life is lost, it's tough, because right now there's families who are going through it, going through that process. And now you're going to have to bury your loved ones. AJ's going to be attending some funerals. Who wants to go to a funeral? And especially if it's your loved ones, people that you're with. So the images are out. We saw the wreck, what it looks like, the damage to the vehicle that they were traveling in. Wow. Basically it's like the side of it is, one side of it is gone. So to give you guys a breakdown of what happened, obviously they were traveling fast when the impact took place. But here it is. Check out that image right there. It was a parked truck. The truck is parked, and they were traveling at whatever speed. And I guess they were going to hit the truck from behind, but the driver tried to veer off. And boom, the truck only clipped this side of the vehicle. Now AJ and obviously the driver's side were here. So the impact, they narrowly escaped it. If this vehicle would have hit the back of the truck, AJ, everybody would have been done. He was lucky where he was sitting at. He happened to be sitting behind the driver. The two gentlemen that were on this side of the vehicle, they lost their lives, because this part of it, some of the vehicle actually came off. You could see doors coming off the hinges and everything. So imagine the passengers that were here, they absorbed the impact of the truck when they crashed into it. And if you look at the car or the van, whatever it was, look at the damage.
You know, they hit that truck very hard. And you know, the first thing is the shock, the sadness, the grieving process. But eventually, and that's not gonna take long, we're gonna get into what happened. How this accident happened. Because, and I'm just going based on the first reports that are out, but apparently this truck was parked. And there's people already putting their story out there. Oh, this is what happened. People that supposedly were there. But the truck apparently was parked when they crashed into it. How did this happen? Was the truck parked in a place that he wasn't supposed to? Was the driver distracted? What happened? How did this, people ended up dying? So, bottom line is, you know, eventually people are going to want answers of why this happened. Luckily for AJ, he survived the accident, and the government is getting backlash because there was no ambulance, there was no, the help that he should have received after that accident just wasn't there. AJ was actually helped by the locals. The people that were there took action, help him. There's video of someone or multiple people trying to get him out the vehicle, and you can see that AJ was hurt. From an accident like that, I'm guessing what he suffered was whiplash. Or one of the injuries that he suffered was whiplash. I don't know what else. But you could see clearly he was in a lot of pain when they was trying to get him out the vehicle. He was hurt. Now imagine being in this much pain and you lost two of your loved ones. Which, based on the damage that you see on the vehicle, I wouldn't be surprised if they were ejected. Because this whole side of the vehicle, you see, well, most of it ripped off where the door is at. Marie, I also experienced a fatal car accident. The ambulance told me and my friend that when she saw a car, she was praying nobody dead. And we had just some scratches that she shot, called it a miracle. It's crazy, bro. Your life can end in a second. That's why God sometimes gives us this chance to change. Just like that. And that's why I tell people, man, fighters, they're regular human beings just like me and you. They're regular people. They have real life situations that they have to deal with. It's not just about, I don't know why in some people's minds it's just about all the millions of dollars and more butts and seats and no, they live a real life. Things that could happen to us happen to them too. Marie, may God forgive them and grant them paradise. And may he give Joshua power to overcome it. Anthony Joshua, man, it's going to be a tough situation. And I see it all the time, people that are together and they're in an accident together and somebody dies, and then those who survive have that survivor's guilt. Like, why me? Why that happened to him? And they even start wishing, damn, I wish it was me and he could be here because he got this, he got that. So AJ is going to go through a process where he not only is going to have to feel, heal physically, but also mentally. Shot cool hands. You've been getting off early. The holiday seasons, my G. Holiday seasons. Come on now. 2025 is almost over. But man, it's a tough situation for Anthony Joshua to have to deal with. You know, coming off of that win with Jake Paul, we've been celebrating and having some good times with it. And now he has to deal with this. So the whole Paul situation, boxing, becomes secondary for Anthony Joshua. Now he's going to have to deal with that recovery process. It's like I told you guys, not just physically. You know, you have to look at the way that vehicle ended up. And it gives you an idea how hard they crashed into that truck. And I see somebody on social media saying, hey, if the ambulance arrived, they could have saved the other two guys. I don't think so. When you look at the damage on the vehicle, I don't see how they survived. Think about it. That's the vehicle right there. And the two gentlemen who didn't survive, they were on the side of the vehicle. Let me show you once again. They were on the side of the vehicle that hit the truck. They were sitting on this side of the vehicle. So you have to understand the impact of the truck, they absorbed it, all of it. Some of that side of the vehicle got ripped off. So I don't think that they could have been saved, but it's sad to see that there was no ambulance, there was no emergency services. It was just the people, the locals. No neck brace for AJ. Let's just get you out of here. Come on, let's at least help you get out. He could have been injured even worse getting out that vehicle like that. But there was nobody there. So the locals did what they had to do to help him out. Luckily, AJ survived the accident. You know, he got some injuries. I don't know. I'm not sure the extent of the injuries, but it looks like he's going to be okay. And it's like I said, it's going to be a tough road back to heal, not just physically, but mentally. You know, still got some funerals to attend. Still got some investigations. Guess what? You see what AJ is going through right now mentally after being in such a traumatic accident? Guess what? He's going to have to participate in the investigation. Now, dealing with all of this, he's going to have to sit in a room somewhere, or maybe he already did, and he's going to have to answer questions about, you know, was the driver drinking? Where were you guys going? How fast do you think you guys were going? Did he lose control? All of these questions, he's going to be answering them while dealing with this trauma of losing two of his friends. Because you have to understand something, my peoples. These are not just trainers and co-workers and employees. These people become family. You know, they traveling together. They going everywhere together. They staying in hotels together. So it's a family. And AJ lost two of them, just like that. That's a traumatic situation to deal with, to say the least. And not just you lost them, but you're dealing with your physical situation. Because trust me, when you're in a crash like that, you're going to be hurt. The reason why AJ's so lucky is because he was sitting behind the driver. Right there. He was sitting in an area where the vehicle suffered no damage. So the only injuries that AJ has is from the impact, which your body's gonna get shook up. So you're gonna get the whiplash, your shoulders could get messed up, different parts of your body from that jolt could get injured. And that's what AJ's dealing with. But those who were sitting right there, unfortunately, they didn't stand a chance. They took, imagine crashing into a truck and this side of the vehicle is the only part that impacts it. You guys see the damage, look. Look at the wheel. That side of the vehicle impacted the truck with such force that it absolutely destroyed some of that part. Marie, we don't call that lucky. We call it was not his day. Only those other two. Your day comes, nobody and nothing can stop it. I used the word luck, but just because anybody could have, if they would have switched seats, we would have been saying the same thing the other way around. AJ, or if the truck would have been on this side and it would have crashed this side, then the two passengers here would have been saying, "Oh, it wasn't our day." And so ultimately, the truck was parked on that side. That's the side that impacted. But whoever was gonna be sitting there didn't have a chance. They took the impact of that truck that's parked. And look, man, when you see it, it's obvious that they was traveling super fast. Super fast, bro. Look, I've been in car accidents. And I know cars get damaged and all of that stuff. They was an SUV. For you to do that to an SUV in one corner while hitting a parked vehicle, they was going fast. It was going fast. Whether that big truck was illegally parked or the driver just missed it somehow, didn't see it or whatever. But the impact of that accident, nobody on this side of the vehicle was going to survive. They happened to be the two sitting there. Unfortunately, that's the way it played out. Daniel Negron, that's a terrible car wreck. Imagine. And I think and it's messed up, but sometimes it takes situations like that for people to appreciate life. To understand, damn, look, this is a two-time heavyweight champion of the world. This guy, on top of the world, making a lot of money, millionaire. A trip to Africa. I wish I could go to Africa. He's over there. And look what happens, an accident. Just like that. It doesn't matter if you're rich. It doesn't matter if you're poor. It doesn't matter if you got millions in the bank. It doesn't matter if your bank account is empty. This could happen to you. It could happen to anybody. So, I feel bad, for those that passed away, their families. AJ, who's now gonna have to deal with this situation. It's like I told you guys, man. It's not just the process of healing physically, but mentally. Losing two close friends just like that in an accident. That's crazy, my people. That is crazy. At this point, I promise you, for AJ and his team and everyone else around them, boxing is secondary right now. Boxing is a sport. It's a business. It's how he makes his money. But I'm pretty sure AJ and nobody around there is even thinking about boxing. They're just trying to, pick up the pieces and put them together. And right now, I'm pretty sure it's just processing all of this situation. Processing that you lost people that are close to you. Processing that, you could have been sitting right there and it could have happened. How many times have you been sitting on that side? And the time that you sat here, look, going to funerals, going to physical therapy. You know, it's a tough road ahead for AJ. So I hope that he can overcome all of this. I hope that he can, because it's difficult. Shot cool hands. Messed up, bro. And imagine dealing with this situation in such a horrible accident, and there's no emergency services there to help you. Imagine that. You just lost two loved ones. You're injured yourself, and there isn't even an ambulance over there. They could have even injured him worse. Getting him out, you see, no neck brace, nothing. They kind of just, the locals brought AJ out the vehicle, but there was no emergency services there. This guy, with that type of accident, he should have been in a neck brace, in a stretcher, in the back of an ambulance. But there was no ambulance. Shackle hands. I lost an opportunity for my ball career from a car accident. Thank God that you're here, brother. You're here. It wasn't your time to go, like somebody just said. You're here, and you're gonna do big things. See, Graf, that's a traumatizing event that he just went through, of course, man. That's why I was saying earlier, AJ's not only going to have to deal with the physical recovery, but also the mental. You know, this is going to affect his mental health, obviously in a negative way. The whole experience, because you're in this accident, which damages your body, but you lose two loved ones. You sit there for I don't know how long while they dead or watching them die while no help arrives, no ambulance. The locals have to get you out of the vehicle. The whole situation was traumatizing. Shot cool hands, but I'm grateful I'm here. You see, you gotta be grateful. You here. Timothy Grant. Did Jake Paul put a hit on Joshua? Nah, it was a car accident, man. Let's not start with the conspiracies. It was a car accident. But, man, what a nasty accident. Just, it's like I told you. There was, if you look at the way that they crashed into the vehicle, it's a parked truck, right? If you look at the way that they crashed into it, and the damage to this side of the vehicle, look at the damage right here. The two gentlemen that were sitting on that side, they basically had no chance. They had no chance. Marie, there's not like here in Europe, bro. Like, that's bad, man. Like, even here in the Dominican Republic, this is a third world country. And an ambulance would have showed up. See, Graf. Now he has to go and sit through both of the funerals with both of the family. Very sad. That's why I mentioned earlier that now he's going to have survivor's guilt, survivor's remorse. And it's going to start crossing his mind. Why I'm here? Why them? Why wasn't me? Now he's going to start replaying in his mind all the time that it was him sitting on this side and they was on this side. And it turns out that this one time, not this one time, but this is one of those times that he happened to be behind the driver. A lot of things are going to replay in his mind. And I'm telling you, he's going to need psychological help. Not just for, obviously there's going to be therapy. And I guarantee you, because I've been in a car accident, he's dealing with whiplash, neck injury. And they're going to put him in a neck brace. He's probably in a neck brace right now. But besides that, I don't know what other injuries he may have. He's going to need help for his mental health. Shackle hands. I drive on my job from place to place, but for years after I used to get scared when cars will come close to me. There's gonna need some people with him for a while. I agree. When you're in such a traumatic event, it's gonna affect you going forward. It's gonna affect how you think, how you feel. When he get on a vehicle, listen, when I was in a car accident, I only really felt comfortable when I was driving. If I'm driving out, but for a while there, I didn't feel comfortable because it's like, damn, this could happen. Timothy, my bad. You've never seen vehicular sabotage and bad intention carried out. It's not about never seeing it. It's about this a car accident, so I don't jump into conspiracies right away. You're too fast to jump into conspiracies, and when you do that, as opposed to looking for the truth, you start looking for ways to try to connect it and make it be the truth. So what you're really doing right now is making stuff up out of thin air, literally making up out of thin air. You don't know that Jake Paul has people in Africa. You don't know that he's connected to the driver. You don't know. None of the facts are connecting with anything that you're saying. So if there's a fact that comes out to support that, I'm riding with you. But right now, you're just making stuff up out of thin air. You're the conspiracist. There's always going to be a conspiracy. Like, oh, it's probably this that happened. Because what I think that could have happened, I'm going to just somehow make that a reality. It doesn't work that way. Right now, it was an accident, family. Let's go with what we know. Marie, I think Joshua is a strong man. He won't think, why me? I heard him talking about death before. He knows the reason of life. I think he will know God's plan. But still, man, he will know. But when you show up to a funeral of your peoples, the people that you've been traveling with, training with, and all of that, trust me, you ask yourself, why they there? Why I'm here? Psychologically, and look, it hurts to see a person die that's close to you. Imagine watching two people die simultaneously right next to you. And you simply survived because you sat behind the driver. That could have been you. Right now, we could have been mourning AJ, my peoples. And we could have been saying, oh, well, the other two gentlemen, man, they, it wasn't their time. And that's just the way it played out. See, Grab, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't retire after this. I mean, whether or not he retires, I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure that boxing is secondary to AJ right now. Boxing is not even in his mind. Right now, he's dealing with physical injuries and emotional injuries that you can't see, but that's going to be tough to overcome. Santiago Ramirez, good morning, my homie. How you doing today? Salute, family. We talking boxing. We talking about this whole situation that Anthony Joshua's dealing with. Unfortunate, deadly car accident. Tony Davila, I barely heard about it. Second day, whoa, that's crazy. Thank God our guy is alive. May the mothers rest in peace. Yeah, man, may they rest in peace. I feel real bad for their families too. You imagine. Right now, there's two whole families who lost their loved ones, who lost a father, a brother, a son. And they dealing with that. AJ himself, because those people like family. He's going to be going to funerals. Tony Davila, life is crazy. We never know what's going to happen in an instant. Just like that. That's why we have to appreciate life. When things like this happen, we go back and think, damn. Sometimes we put too much focus on the things that matter the least. You see how fans always talking about which fighter's making the most money, which fighter's making the career payday, and comparing that. All the money that AJ made in this fight, 90 million. And you think with his two homies there, right there, with his neck hurt, dealing with whiplash, no ambulance, inside of a wrecked vehicle. You think AJ is thinking about $90 million? You think that very moment in his mind, it's like, oh shit, man, I crashed. My people's passed away, but I got 90 mils though. Oh, yes. Nah. At this point, all the money is irrelevant. The mansion that he got, the different mansions, I don't know how many he has, all of that becomes irrelevant. Right now, AJ just feeling lucky to be alive, hurt that his brothers is gone, and just, absorbing, dealing with this, situation. Stop the Boats. Son from Scotland. Been a boxer 26 years. Not professionally. Just for fitness and routine. Salute, family. Boxing is great for fitness. Great. Do you spar? You be sparring in the gym or you just train? Brady, my prayers and condolences go out to all involved. It's heartbreaking, to say the least. And that's life, man. We see somebody that's on top, celebrating. We were having a good time with his victory over Jake Paul, celebrating that, and all the money that Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua made in that fight. And look, just a couple weeks later, AJ goes from celebrating to losing two loved ones, just like that, in an accident. So, super sad to see not only AJ have to deal with this situation, because at least he survived, but the people that lost their life, man, that's tough. That's tough to have to deal with. No pride. Jake Paul got his jaw broken in 2 places. Brutally, it was a brutal knockout. North Star, you think it's a conspiracy? Nah, not at all. Listen, I'm sure 100% we're going to see the conspiracists. I already learned this a long time ago. Boxing fans love a conspiracy. Love conspiracy. So as opposed to just looking at the facts, you're going to see those. Nah, it was a setup, and somebody already said in the comments that Jake Paul somehow got the whip messed up, got the vehicle tampered with. Jake Paul got some people in Nigeria. But no, to me, it doesn't look like it, and this is why. Here's the accident right there. That's the accident. They crashed into a parked truck. Look at it right here, a semi. And this is the vehicle. So based on the way that they hit on this side of it, it looks like there's there's multiple scenarios that could have played out, right? But one is that they were traveling in the wrong lane behind the vehicle, and by the time they saw it, the driver tried to veer off. Boom! And he still caught this side of the vehicle because it was parked. Number 2, this vehicle could have been illegally parked, and he was in the right lane. Boom, and crashed into a vehicle that he was not expecting. Imagine if you're traveling on a highway, for example, and there's a vehicle happen. People crash into back of trucks, back of cars because of that. That could have been it too. It could have also been that they lost control, swerved, and boom. So there's a lot of different. It could have even been the driver lost focus, looked at his phone, looked somewhere, got distracted, and boom, crashed. So there's many different things that could have happened. But right now, it looks like an accident. It looks like an accident. Of course, people gonna come up with the conspiracies. People love conspiracies. That I guess that just makes it more interesting. To come out and say, yo, you know, it was probably somebody said Jake Paul probably set it up and vehicular manipulation. People watch too much TV, man. It was an accident. Tony Davila, accidents happen, issues happen. I believe it was an unfortunate incident. May they rest in peace. I agree with you, my brother. You know, things happen. That's real life. The thing is, when real life happens to celebrities, people don't accept it. They go into the conspiracies right away as if those things cannot happen to a celebrity. That's just reality. Timothy Grant, it was a question. Details of accident, though. Appreciate the details of the accident, though. I mean, I looked at the details that are out, and based off of that, it's an accident. But I guarantee you, it's not just about the question. It's that you're going to see people floating out conspiracies. You're going to see that. What if it was this guy? What if Jake Paul did it? What if it was a setup? You're going to see that as part of a narrative. It just makes it more interesting to have some type of setup take place than just a regular old accident. No pride. A lot of so-called conspiracies have come true, so bueno, that's a bad argument to cling on. If you look at boxing conspiracies, I don't think I've seen a single one come true. So one thing is real life conspiracies, and another is boxing conspiracies. Boxing conspiracies, people just make shit up out of thin air. I haven't seen a single one, not one, come true. Son of Von, it was an accident. But to not have any proof, but to push a conspiracy like it's true, it's delusional. Yo, people are delusional. It's like I told you. Being just an accident, it makes it less interesting. People like a conspiracy. People like a setup, a movie. Like that's why I said people watch too many movies. People watch too. Boxing fans watch too many movies. They start connecting dots that there's no connection whatsoever. Because if you think about it, there is no way, nothing that has come out that could connect Jake Paul to anyone and anything related to Nigeria and that accident. But, you know, creativity, y'all creative. Y'all, I gotta give it to y'all, man. Y'all creative. Shaku hands. Yo, Jake, after the stuff I've heard in the music industry, it'd be difficult for me sometimes. See, the music industry is crazy, though. The music industry, we know the type of stuff that been going down, and with the whole Diddy situation, a lot of stuff came out to light. But right now, there's really nothing to look at to say, oh, this is a conspiracy, this was a setup, this was... No, what we saw here was an accident, an obvious accident. That's why I say celebrities, they live a real life just like me and you. They be involved in accidents too. They be involved in DUIs. I'm not saying this is a DUI, by the way. They be involved in shit. But when something happens to a celebrity, it's always more interesting to make it a conspiracy. Like have a story, have a more interesting conversation to have, I guess. Batman. Come on, people. They got great imagination. That's what I'm saying. It takes a lot of imagination for you to come up with a conspiracy. It makes it an interesting conversation, I guess. Shaku Hands, yes, I feel you. The letter M. Jake Paul paid some people to do this to him. Damn, the letter M. You're going to come in with the conspiracy too? My peoples, listen, we're going to have to talk about this conspiracy. I'm going to take a 1-minute break, get this hydration going, and we're going to talk about the conspiracy if that's what y'all want to talk about. I'll be back with you shortly, my peoples. Y'all already know what it is. Salute to everybody tuning in to this brand new episode of Boxing for Breakfast. Yeah. My peoples, we back in the building. Welcome to another episode of Boxing for Breakfast, where you get your healthy dosage of sweet science early in the morning. Salute to everybody tuning in, man. MAW's in the building. Son of Vaughn, Sai, Timothy Grant's in the building. Shaku Hands. Who else is in the building, man? Tommy Davila in the building. Brady. Everybody else tuning in, man. I appreciate you guys. Um, so I see that this conspiracy is gonna be part of the whole story. MAW, salute J and chat, smash that like button. Sad what happened to AJ and the death of his friends. Life altering tragedy. MAW, listen, I agree with you 100%, and I've been saying it to people. AJ is not just gonna have a long road to recovery as far as physical, because of his physical injuries, but also his mental injuries, his mental health issues that he's gonna have to overcome. You know, he watched two people who I'm sure are like family to him lose their lives. And it's crazy to see. I know it has to be traumatizing. Imagine you have two basically family members who died right there, who were sitting next to you moments ago. No ambulance, no no emergency services there to help you. And you have to rely on the people, the locals. That's a crazy situation to deal with, man. Cousin Jet, shout out from Australia. What do you think about Tim's last? Did you even know his opponent? Because I did. So interesting. I know you're a real boxing man and had good understanding. I mean, it was a good fight for Tim Tszyu. It was a good fight. He performed. He did what he was supposed to do. Let's see what's next. Northside, AJ, the face of boxing, might not box again. I don't know if he is or if he isn't going to fight again. But what I will tell you is that right now, boxing is the last thing in AJ's mind. He lost two people, and they were just sitting next to him moments before that. So that's traumatizing. And then to have to sit there in the vehicle for as long as he sat there, knowing that these two family, because that's family to him, they're gone. I can't even imagine what he went through. What that scene was like for him. And I told you guys before, AJ could have actually been hurt worse. They could have furthered his injuries. Because you see the way they took him out the vehicle. No neck brace, no stretcher, no nothing. I mean, it's the locals. They did the best they can. MAW, you're right, Jay. Celebrities are really just human beings like the rest of us and suffer loss and tragedy. Very traumatic experience. Lose two close brothers in such a terrible way. Shaking my head. Batman, that was his two best friends. Look at that. That's why I mentioned earlier that they're like family. You know, they travel together, they work out together. They obviously they're at the fights. That's like family. Come on now. Batman, he will go through a range of emotions and PTSD from this tragic situation. I agree with you. Northside, the face of boxing is still here, thank God. Music, nothing wrong with him throwing up the pyramid. Throwing up the pyramid? I don't know what you're talking about. You're gonna need a 24-hour break. You sound like a dummy. But I digress, dummy. Listen, my people. AJ is gonna go through a process where he's gonna have to heal physically and mentally. And it's a long road ahead. I'll put it to you like this. His physical injuries are gonna heal a lot faster than the mental ones. Remember I told you this. When he's physically fit and feeling strong and feeling like he can fight again, mentally he's still gonna be dealing with it. North Star, AJ should retire and focus on himself. It's up to him. I wouldn't send a fighter into retirement. I'd say it's up to him what he decides to do. Shackle hands, 24, 24, 24. You know how we handle these dummies. The letter M. A celebrity would do so much questionable shit for the fame and fortune. How can you not think of a conspiracy sometimes? But it's like I said, conspiracies, it just makes it a lot more interesting. Usually it's just made up in people's minds. Batman facts. Side, PTSD is definitely going to be there. It's going to be a tough situation to deal with. That's why I say the physical injuries, he'll get past it quicker. He'll get past the physical injuries. And you'll see AJ that's going to be strong again, that's going to be able to do what he does physically. Mentally, that's a different story. Side, he might never recover from it. You see, that's what we don't know. How is he going to be able to bounce back mentally after watching two of his best friends die right there, right next to him? That's something that most people, thankfully, will never have to deal with. But those who do, it's tough. MAW, may God help AJ and those two brothers' families through this tragedy. Very sad. Long road mentally. Long, tough road ahead, man. For AJ, for the members of the family of the two that didn't survive this accident, tough. Sad. But it will take a lot longer than the physical wounds, for sure. Physically, AJ could be good probably 6 months, 8 months. Like nothing ever happened physically. Mentally, this could affect him for years. Years. See, grab. Exactly. PTSD is a serious thing. And he might fall into depression. Look, right now, AJ's gonna need a team of people. Not just, because they gotta give him therapy and all of that stuff, but he's gonna need a team of people at all times with him. You know why? When something like this happens, it's super easy for somebody to fall into addiction, for somebody to fall into alcohol, into drugs, into not giving a damn about life. It can happen. It happens. So he need a team of people to make sure that AJ don't make a wrong turn in this journey that he's gonna be on. Tough, my peoples. Batman self-medicating. Exactly. Look, you'd be surprised to know how many drug addicts are out there. People that in your eyes, that's a crackhead, and that's a heroin addict, and that's a is someone who had a really good life and went through something, and they started doing drugs and lost everything, and that's it. They just became a drug addict. That happens more time than you think. Like there's a lot of drug addicts, even a lot of homeless people who once upon a time were successful, were very successful. People who were wealthy in the streets somewhere right now. So AJ's dealing with the type of situation that he's gonna need a lot of help, so he don't fall into any scenario where we see him as a drug addict or an alcoholic or starts getting in trouble all of a sudden. He's gonna need help. See, grab. Yeah, because he might fall into that guilt trip. Spoke about that earlier. That, that remorse of, damn, why not me? Why them? Why my God? Why I'm still here? I mean, look, just think about it. AJ was sitting, the only reason he's alive today is because he was sitting behind the driver. That's it. That's the only reason. If he was not behind the driver, he would be gone today. And we would be talking about, oh man, damn, AJ's gone. Batman, mental health is so real. Unfortunately, mental health is something that for us men, we can't really address it like that. If I tell you guys that, like, at some point I'm dealing with mental health issues, guess what? I'm soft, I'm weak, I'm a little bitch, all of this other stuff. So if I'm dealing with mental health, what I do, I shut up about it and I act like nothing is happening. So what that does, it starts adding up and adding up and adding up until I either explode, do something crazy, or just go insane. That's just the reality. Skip a clipper. Word is the driver was speeding. And I mentioned that earlier. Because if you look at the way that he crashed, it was into a parked vehicle. That semi was parked when he crashed into him. So it looks like he was either already driving on the wrong lane or he tried to swerve, and that's why he only caught that side. Boom! Try to get out the way, and there you have it. That's why I said keep that in mind. Right now, everybody's dealing with this situation. Two people lost their lives, two families that are devastated right now. AJ injured in the hospital, dealing with close friends that he lost that were sitting next to him moments before that. Talking, laughing, enjoying it. and then gone, just like that. So AJ's dealing with this situation, but eventually we're gonna start asking questions. People are gonna start asking questions. What happened? How do you crash into a parked vehicle? They probably already interviewed AJ. I'm, 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 I'm not sure that they did. I haven't seen information that they did, and it's in Africa. It's somewhere in Nigeria, so I don't know. The ambulance wasn't even there, so I don't know how quickly they follow the processes that they have in place. But I'm sure that they either already did interview AJ or they're going to. That's why I say first it's the this grieving process, this shock. But eventually we're gonna get to the questions. And we're gonna get into the how did the driver crash into a parked vehicle? Was he drinking? Was he distracted? Was he what happened? Because when you look at the vehicle, my peoples, come on now. You look at it and you can see that he was going super fast. Skip a clipper. If you notice, there was no airbags. I didn't notice. Well, I did notice that you couldn't see any airbags, so you're right about that. But we're in Nigeria. They're in Nigeria. I seen a bunch of crashes out here in the Dominican Republic where no airbag showed up. No airbag, nowhere to be seen. And it's cars that supposedly have airbags. But nothing deploys. So they're in Africa. Daniel Negron. Someone is going to get sued, I presume. I don't know about getting sued, but the driver could end up going to jail. I don't know if he's going to get sued because, I guess if he drive for a company, for limo services or something like that, that company could get sued. That company can get sued. So let's see. But if that is the case, that the driver was speeding and that was the cause of the accident, then there's going to be legal ramifications. That driver is going to end up going to jail. 2 people lost their life. So that driver is going to go to jail, and probably the company that he works for will be sued. Batman. Off subject. But boxing, what do you think about Nakatani versus Hernandez decision? That was weird. I would describe that decision as weird. Hernandez put all type of hands on Nakatani. I thought that he actually, I would have been okay with a draw, maybe even a split decision. But nah, they could have gifted Nakatani a draw. The way that the scars looked, that was crazy to me. VMK, do you think the Anthony Joshua accident was actually done by the people who lost money due to him, as some say? Like I said earlier, people are going to come up with conspiracies. Conspiracies just make it more interesting. That's all it is. But what I think is that this was an accident. The guy was driving too fast, crashed into a parked vehicle. Stuff that happens in real life to us and to anybody, it happens to athletes too. It doesn't have to always be a conspiracy that somebody set anything up. Northside. Did the driver die? No, the driver did not die. So here's an image that gives you a good idea of why 2 people died and AJ, the driver, survived. The truck was parked. The vehicle was speeding. And it looks like he tried to get out from behind the truck. And he only ended up impacting this side of the vehicle. AJ, who was sitting behind the driver, was not hit. So Basically, the damage that Anthony Joshua suffered or the injuries was from the impact, from the jolt. Boom! You can imagine. Look at the damage of the vehicle. You can imagine how fast they was going. And they hit a parked semi. So AJ sitting there behind the driver, he didn't absorb the impact directly, but when they hit, you can imagine, boom! The whiplash could have shoulder injury. I don't know what else type of injuries AJ suffered. But ultimately, the driver and AJ survived because they only suffered from the jolt, not from the actual impact, the vehicle hitting them. Listen, the two guys who lost their life, they never stood a chance. Unfortunately, there was nothing they could do, because just imagine hitting this parked semi, and I'm gonna just put a number because I supposedly they were speeding, but I'm gonna just say 50 miles per hour. Imagine if they was going 50 miles per hour and they hit this semi right here with just this corner where them two was sitting at. They never stood a chance. VMK, how long AJ would be inactive due to this accident? I'm going to be honest with you, my guy. AJ, I would say right now, boxing is not even in his mind. Boxing is secondary. When people lose their lives, that's it. You forget about boxing. And we're talking about guys who train with him, who help him prepare for fights, guys who obviously travel with him. They're in Africa together, who have good times with him, who were just sitting with him moments before losing their lives. You know how many times they sat in a vehicle together and AJ was the one sitting on this side? This was one of those times that he was on this side. And because of that, he survived. We could have very well been talking about, man, why AJ was sitting on this side. He's no longer with us. That could have been the conversation. So here we go. Jose, they said it was a burst tire from the speed they went. Different ways the tire burst on the freeway and kept control. I mean, I don't know about look, that can happen. In my case, I had it happen and I didn't lose control of the vehicle. It's happened to me twice and I didn't lose control of the vehicle. One of those two times, it was in a highway, but it was a rear tire. So when you lose a rear tire, you somewhat still can have some control of the vehicle. It's not the same as losing a front tire. So if they lost the front tire, that could have been enough to make them veer to the corner and boom, crash into something. The real King George, they had a guardian angel with them. I'm telling you, if you look at the accident, if you look at the impact, the driver and AJ, who was sitting behind the driver, they were only going to suffer from the crash. But the actual impact of the back of that truck went directly into the two guys that were sitting here. They had no chance. I haven't seen the details on whether or not they were both ejected, but you see part of that vehicle, part of that side of the vehicle is gone. It's ripped off. That's how hard they hit. I mean, come on, look. That's how hard they hit that vehicle, my peoples. So let me just say, before we move on, because we are going to talk about Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis. You guys, Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis, yeah, they're going to be fighting on the same card, January 31st. We're going to be talking about that. But before moving on, Let me just remind you, my peoples. AJ is a millionaire. AJ got mansions. AJ got all the money in the world. AJ made $90 million recently over Jake Paul. He's a superstar. Yet look what happened. Right now, I promise you, as Anthony Joshua is dealing with his physical injuries, dealing with the loss of life of his loved ones, you can believe the last thing in his mind is, yo, I got mad money, and I got multiple mansions, and I made 90 million. He ain't thinking about none of that. Right now, he just hurt. Because all the money in the world can't bring his buddies back. If he could give away the mansion and give away the money and to bring his buddies back, he would do that. But you can't bring them back. That's it. They're gone. So, life, my peoples, is more precious than anything you can get. Anything you can get and all the money you can get, it doesn't matter when your life is on the line. Take that into consideration, my peoples. Take care of your life. Northside, I see a photo of his friends, head half off. They must have been going mad fast. I haven't seen that photo, and damn, I don't even want to see it, to be honest. But that's what I'm telling you. It looked like they were speeding. It looks like they were speeding. Side, AJ would trade Jake Paul's payday to get his team back. So sad. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If AJ could give it all back and just have the buddies back with him, he would do that, but they gone. That's why you have to understand, there's things that all the money in the world can't get you. And those are the ones that you really gotta appreciate. You can't buy friends. You can't buy, those relationships. And it's why I mentioned earlier, you're gonna see AJ, man, have to go to these funerals, have to process all of this situation. It's tough. Tough to deal with, man. I feel so bad for him, the team, and everyone involved. My peoples, we was asking a question. We was asking a question last week, and we're gonna talk about this fight because we're seeing how confident everybody is on either side. On one side, there's people saying that Shakur's gonna make it look easy. Shakur's gonna outbox Teofimo Lopez, and is gonna have a moment, his moment, where people are gonna say, "Holy moly, that's it." And they feel comfortable. They feel confident about that. But then there's the people that say, Teofimo Lopez is gonna put the Swiss, the Dre, and the Apple beats on Shakur. They're saying that we're gonna see the same Teofimo that has dismantled world champions. We're gonna see the Teofimo that has stopped fighters. And there's people who see Teo stopping Shakur. They see the stoppage. So how does this fight really play out? You know this is a mega fight, a super fight, a big fight. When I told you guys, I know who's going to win, but I haven't made my prediction. My prediction, the official prediction on this fight, is going to be on Box Center 2.0, which, by the way, you see it right there pinned on the comments. My people, subscribe to Box Center 2.0. You're getting exclusive content that only drops on there. Plus, goofiest of the oofiest only drops exclusively on Box Center 2.0. Box fans, this will be a good fight. It's not just gonna be a good fight. It's gonna be a great fight, bro. That you see the narrative that Shakur's gonna run and he's gonna make it a boring fight, and ain't gonna be none of that, bro. This is gonna be a good one. This is gonna be a good fight, bro. We're gonna get the best version of Shakur Stevenson versus the best version of Teofimo Lopez. That's what we're gonna get. Northside, TikTok, Twitter, Sensei. Shaku Hands. Goofiest of the Oofiest was absent last night. You know, holiday season schedule. Had to miss it last night. Doty. Chill, bro. The real King George. Lopez will take him to the limits. Are you saying that Teofimo Lopez is going to win this fight? Make your predictions. Be straightforward. Side. They complaining about Shakur's performance, and he ain't even fought yet. I mean, you have to remember, a lot of people said that he was going to be running against Zepeda. They expected that he was going to be running, that Zepeda was going to be chasing him. Then there's the people who said that Zepeda was going to knock him out. And we saw how that happened. Shakur beat him, put the beats on him inside of a phone booth for the entire time. Caught him by surprise. That's why I said Devin Haney followed the Shakur Stevenson blueprint on Brian Norman Jr. Why? Because everyone expected Shakur to run. Zepeda himself said, I know what fight he's going to make, and I'm going to apply pressure. I'm going to follow him, and I'm going to catch up to him. He's not going to be able to run all night long. Zepeda went into that fight thinking that Shakur was going to be running, thinking that he was going to be chasing him around. You think that didn't catch him and his team off guard? That Shakur fought him right there inside of that phone booth when they thought it was going to be in a football field? You thought you was going to bully Shakur. He stood there in front of you and fed you a steady dosage of leather. So, Devin Haney did the same thing. People thought he was going to be running from Brian Norman Jr. And Brian Norman Jr. himself was like, he ain't got no power. I ain't got nothing to worry about. Got dropped. And even Norman Sr. said they might have got caught off guard by Dev's power. Caught him slipping. So both of those fighters people thought was going to be out there running, both of them brought it to their opponent. So even after people saw Shakur bring it to Zepeda the way that he did, they still want to say and assume that he's going to run versus Teofimo. Besides, Zepeda drank the Kool-Aid. He definitely drank it, because I saw myself in the interview say, we know how he fights. We know what he's going to do. We're going to corner him. We're going to cut the ring, and he's going to taste it. How are you going to cut the ring on somebody who putting the baits on you inside of a phone booth? Dobie, I love Jay Smith boxing content in the morning. Bless to you, King. Keep that energy. Keep that great content coming. Appreciate it, my brother. No doubt. Yo, listen, 2025 has been a good year. A lot of people been tuning in, been showing love, been showing support. I promise you guys, man, 2026, I'm not going to let you down. 2026, we going in. Oh, by the way, something that I forgot to mention, right? North Star Teal can't beat Shakur. We're talking about two elite level fighters, both in their prime. It's going to be a good fight. I already told you guys I know who's going to win. Subscribe to Box Center 2.0 because that's where I'm going to make my official prediction. Let me just say this about Saturday's fights. I want to say something about these fights from Saturday. Edson Garcia, I was going to say Rodriguez. Edson Garcia fought on this card. He actually fought right before the Nakatani fight. Before Junto Nakatani, we had Edson Garcia versus Tiger Imanaga. And I want to tell you guys about that fight, man, because number one, it was a real good fight, real good action inside the ring. But number two, there's a very interesting storyline behind that fight that I want to share with you guys. You know, because we got the boxing people up in here. You guys are the boxing people, and you like the boxing, the real boxing stuff. You guys want to know what's really going on. So let me hook y'all up with some boxing stuff real quick. Quick boxing story from Jay Smith. Check this out. So before Junto Nakatani fought Sebastian Hernandez, we had Tiger Imanaga, who fought a Dominican fighter that most people don't know. It was a very good fight. If you didn't get to see it, Google it. Tiger Imanaga versus Edson Garcia. What a fight. First of all, leading into the fight, that was this Saturday, right? This was the fight right before Junto Nakatani. Leading into the fight, they were saying Tiger Imanaga is going to have a good test in front of him. He has an opponent who had, at that moment, a record of, hold on, let me take a look at it. I think he's, 22-1. So with a record of 22-1, he was the underdog versus Tiger Imanaga, who had a record of 9-0. Only 9 professional fights. This kid right here is a Japanese prospect who they have high expectations for. This kid is one of those that they're like, yeah, he's going to be a world champion. Like, that's their approach to this kid. He's nice. He can fight. And the way that they were talking, Edson Garcia was just an opponent that they brought. Another opponent for Tiger Imanaga. Well, my peoples, it turns out that Edson Garcia was a lot better than they anticipated. The fight was very competitive from the beginning. Tiger Imanaga was showing his skills, his pedigree, but Edson Garcia was right there with him, landing big shots. Big shots. And ultimately, he hurt Tiger Imanaga and dropped him with a nasty right hook. By the way, Edson Garcia is a southpaw, right? He shot a big right hand, and right after that right hand came back with the right hook. Boom! Well, he shot the right hand, went low, and came up with the right hook. Boom! Caught Tiger Imanaga flush and dropped him. Now, to his credit, Imanaga didn't just get up. He kept fighting. Don't get it twisted. This was a very interesting fight. They went back and forth. Both of them landing big shots on each other. But once Edson Garcia dropped him, he started to take over. He started to land more punches. And he made it his fight. He made it his fight. And ultimately won by split decision. Now, Edison Garcia, Dominican fighter, like I said, a lot of people don't know him yet. I'm telling you, my peoples, keep an eye on Tiger Imanaga. Even though he lost, this kid is nice, and you're gonna see from him again. You're gonna hear about him. Tiger Imanaga. And then the winner of this fight, Edison Garcia, you're definitely gonna be hearing from him. You're gonna be seeing from him. He's gonna climb up and earn himself a title shot. He's on his way for that. So keep an eye on them because they're both real good fighters. They're both exciting to watch. And when they climb in the ring, I'm already telling you, you're going to get fireworks. They both have that type of talent. But here's what I want to tell you guys. Here's the interesting part that I want to point out. I had the opportunity to talk to Edison Garcia, via messenger. And check out what he told me. He got the call for this fight 20 days before the fight. So Tiger Imanaga had been preparing for a different opponent. He's been in training camp. But Garcia got the call 20 days before the fight. And he took it. This is why that saying is true. And we know it is. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So when he got that call 20 days before the fight, he was already close to making weight. He was already training, already in good shape. Took the fight. 20 days later, pulled off the upset. Guess what? You're probably going to see Edison Garcia get invited to fight in Riyadh season again. This win is going to open a lot of doors for him. So it's like I told you, keep an eye out for Edison Garcia because you will be seeing him again. He got the upset in a major way. And he showed he got not just power, but skills. You saw the skills. You saw the combination punch. You saw the punch placement. Daniel Negron. That's actually true. I just read it on the fight comments. Follow this guy, my peoples. Anderson. Edison. It's Edison Garcia. Let me see if I see it anywhere written down. It's spelled it's like Erickson, but instead of the CK, the letter D as in David. So it's Edison Garcia. Matter of fact, I'll show it to you right here. And I'm telling you, my people, this kid, look at him right here. There you go, right there. Edison Garcia. There you have it. Son of Vaughn, appreciate it, my guy. So, this guy got the call 20 days before the fight. And he was ready to go. Like, let's get it. 20 days before the fight, I think he was here in the Dominican Republic. Got the call. Started preparing specifically for that opponent. Went to Saudi Arabia. And did what he was supposed to do. So salute to... And by the way, I am going to link up with Edison maybe today, maybe tomorrow, real soon. So I'm going to be bringing you guys a nice interview so that he can tell us about the whole process. The whole process going to Saudi Arabia and facing an opponent. He was the B side. He was taking there to lose. You guys got to understand this. He was going to be a good test for Tiger Imanaga. And went over there and got the W. So he put a lot of people on notice. And you're going to be seeing and hearing more about Edison Garcia. So hopefully I'll have him on the show real soon. And we'll get to hear from him when he went through the whole process. So my peoples, we were also talking about, and some of you guys asked about what I thought when it comes to Junto Nakatani and Sebastian Hernandez. My peoples, Sebastian Hernandez put all type of hands on Junto Nakatani. All type of hands. Now, don't get it twisted. Junto was fighting back. And he was landing his own big shots with his thing. But the way them scorecards looked, it wasn't a good look. One of the three scorecards had 10 rounds to Nakatani and 2 rounds to Hernandez. I said it before. That scorecard, it looks like they turned that shit in on Friday. Or they turned it in a few days before the fight. Like, yeah, on this card, Nakatani got this card 10-2. Hey. No matter what happened, he got this one 10-2. That's what it looked like to me, because there is no way you watch that fight and you only score 2 rounds for Sebastian Hernandez. That's impossible. How can you even do that? This guy was putting all type of hands on Junto Nakatani. Lors, top of the morning, big bro. Be more home. Be more. Bam. Salute, my G. Son of Vaughn. Staying around fight shape and sharp will get you a lot of opportunities. That's a fact. Because imagine if he would have been 40 pounds overweight and out of shape. There's no way he could have made that. Not only there's no way he could have made that, when you get that call, they ask you, how much you weighing right now? How you right now? They might even ask you, yo, before even drafting a contract, they might even ask you, jump on a scale and send us your weight. And you have to show them that you're close to it. Because they're not going to make you drop no 40 pounds in no 20 days. They're like, man, this guy's going to die trying to make weight. This guy's going to get to the fight and faint in round number 1. So you can't just tell them on a phone call, yeah, I'm good. I'm within 5 pounds. Now, you're going to have to show them. If they're going to pony up that money, if they're going to put together that contract, involve the lawyers, everything that got to get done, you got to show something. But we're going to hear it from Edison himself. Like I told you guys, I was talking to him privately, and we're trying to set it up. So hopefully we get him on the show real soon. And he gets to tell us, by the way, he also had a hurt hand. He had a hand. He sent me a picture of his hand, yo. His hand is messed up. I had a bad hand. And beat a prospect like that. Lors, all facts, big bro. Eye for eye, Jay Smith. What's good, bro? Good morning. Who we cooking? So we not cooking anybody, really. We talking about the situation with AJ, man. Sad situation. 2 people lost their lives. And the fact that AJ is going to have to deal with this, not just physically, but psychologically. You know, what comes along with that. And we're talking now about the card that just passed with Edison Garcia got the monster upset against Tiger Imanaga. Then Junto Nakatani versus Sebastian Hernandez. That was a very good fight. Potentially fight of the year. Round number 9 could be the round of the year for sure. They got to a point in that round where they wasn't even blocking punches anymore. They were just punching each other in the head. So it was a crazy fight. The outcome was controversial. You know, a lot of us felt like Sebastian Hernandez pulled it off, like he edged it off on Junto Nakatani. And I felt like, okay, that they could have gifted him a draw, but a unanimous decision in his favor, it just didn't look that way. And he started off the fight. The first couple of rounds, he was dominating because Hernandez wasn't doing anything. He wasn't doing much. But once this guy started letting his hands fly and going consistently to the body, eventually he slowed them down. I think Nakatani versus Hernandez is the classic example of a guy who's the better boxer versus a guy who's going to apply relentless pressure and go to the body consistently. He was successful in slowing Nakatani down and stopping him from using that footwork and turned it into his fight eventually. So I felt like he should have won that fight, and a lot of people agree. Eye for eye, damn. I just read about that. Stay up, AJ. Tough, brother. Tough situation. I feel real bad for AJ, his family, the two guys, close friends like family to AJ and their family. You know, it's a tragedy. It looks like, so far, we don't have all the details, but it looks like the driver may have been speeding. The Peter Rock, I think Nakatani not ready for it, know it. Honestly, man, based on that fight, it doesn't look like it. It does, and I don't think it's not about him not being ready. I just think he knows better. That's simple. It's not just that he's not ready. I think Inoue is the better fighter. Nakatani's real good, real skilled, but I would say that he doesn't have another gear, and that's what I saw in this fight. That's why I compared it to Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes, because Abdullah Mason showed us another gear. He had to do what he never done before. He had to rise above to get that clear win on Sam Noakes. In the case of Junto Nakatani, when he got Sebastian Hernandez, who was right in front of him, who was going to apply that pressure, he couldn't rise above. He just stood at that same level, going back and forth with Sebastian Hernandez. That fight could have gone either way. The scorecards, I didn't see a lot of people agree with him. I just didn't see it. Eye for eye. What I miss? A good fight. It was a good fight. It was a good fight. And if you did not see Junto Nakatani versus Sebastian Hernandez, I suggest you YouTube that fight and watch it. Potential fight of the year. Round number 9, round of the year. I'm going to say right now, round number 9 was the round of the year. Underrated Will, I agree. The Peter Wright, yeah, Nakatani got hit too much. And if that was Inoue, he would have got put out. Inoue would have laced him up, slept him. Took way, way too much punishment. But I'm going to say this. The Peter Rock. Part of the reason this fight played out the way that it did is because Sebastian Hernandez is that type of fighter who's going to keep going forward, who's going to keep applying pressure, who's going to eat your best punches and continue to apply pressure. And it's tough to fight somebody like that because you have to beat them at their fight. You can't use your footwork because he's in front of you. Every time Nakatani tried to move, this guy was in front of him and not allowing him to set for his own punches. It's tough to fight a guy like that. So Nakatani versus Inoue plays out way different than this fight because they have similar styles. Nakatani and Inoue, they fight in a similar way. So I think that is a very competitive fight. I still got the monster. You know, the difference in experience is going to show if they fight each other. Underrated Will. I think Bam beats him for undisputed if they fight. But then you got to ask yourself about who can chin stronger. Do you agree? Man, it's tough for me to make a prediction in that fight because I know what Bam brings to the table. Obviously, I know what Inoue brings. That's a tough prediction to make, bro. Like right now, I have to say it's a 50-50 fight. But I'm also going to say Inoue is the guy fighting in the higher division. You have to take that into consideration. Skipper Clipper. Who is better, Nakatani or Cool Boy? That's a good question. That's a real good question. I think if Nakatani and Cool Boy fight, I think Nakatani got it. Well, they're not in the same weight class, though. So I think Nakatani is better than Cool Boy. Which, by the way, Cool Boy got beat up. Last fight, he got beat up. I don't know, man. Cool Boy was off his last fight. I don't know what happened. It wasn't his usual self. But I still think Nakatani is better than Cool Boy because he's just sharper. I like the way he moves better. The Peter Rock, that would be a good fight. But Nakatani has got to come up and wait. And I don't think Nakatani is going to move up anytime soon simply because he just moved to this division right now and his goal is to fight, obviously, the monster. But I expect him to be there for a while. I don't think he's going to move up anytime soon. That's my take. By the way, my peoples, shout out to everybody tuning in. Brand new episode of Boxing for Breakfast where you get your healthy dosage of sweet science early in the morning. My peoples, y'all know what it is. We talking boxing. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. I will be with you shortly. Yo, again, Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson will be fighting on January 31st. Make your predictions, my peoples. And y'all already know my prediction. Y'all going to see it on Box Center 2.0. Subscribe. You see it right there pinned on the comments. But make your predictions. Take the risk. Who do you think is going to win? Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez. That fight is closed, man. It's closed. January 31st is around the corner, my peoples. This year, this 2025, it's about to end. So make your pick. Who do you have? Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez. I'll be back with you shortly, my peoples. Bam. My peoples, once again, salute to everybody tuning in. Another episode of Boxing for Breakfast, where you get your healthy dosage of sweet science early in the morning. Shakuhan says, I'll be back with you shortly too. I'm out here measuring these ramps. Whoa. Eye for eye. Hell yeah. It's Stevenson. Time to shine. This is a must win for him. The Peter Rock, I got Stevenson. Look, man, there's a lot of people who got Shakur, a lot of people who got Teofimo Lopez. This is going to be a big, big fight. This is a mega fight. The fight that I've been comparing it to is Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvelous Marvin Hagler. That's the comparison that I've been making. Just all you have to do is consider where these guys are. And when Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard face each other, that was at the end of their career. Definitely at the end of Hagler's career. Actually, that was Hagler's last fight of his career. In this case, neither one of these guys is even 30 years old. Both of them multi-division champions, both of them unified champions, accomplished young fighters facing in their late 20s. We don't get this all the time. We don't get this every day. It's a big fight. Appreciate it, my peoples. We're going to get the best version of both of these fighters. Eye for eye. Cool boy caught a cool whipping. He lost one more fight. He lose one more fight. He done. If he lose again, like the way that he lost, he going to be fighting in the prelims. In the prelims. So he got to pull off a victory. Because that's the thing. He didn't just lose. He got beat up. He was out there getting beat up. It's not like he lost in a competitive fight or like he got robbed or like, oh, no, look, it was a split decision. Could have gone either way. Nah, he got his ass whooped. The letter M. What do you think about the hand wrap drama? Nah, that's a no issue. It's the same thing I said earlier. You know, people love a conspiracy. Look at this accident with AJ. They already talking about, oh, it might have been a setup. There's already people floating out conspiracies. So the hand wrap is not a big deal. They had to rewrap them. There was nothing illegal there to report. But you know what it is. There's going to be people that's going to take nothing and turn it into something. This is not the first time that a fighter had to rewrap his hands. So, in reality, it's a no issue that people want to make it into an issue. Especially if it's somebody that doesn't like Inoue or says that he's a hype job or stuff like that. Ooh, they're having a field day with this one. A field day, bro. They already got it all figured out that this is how he win his fight and he has something in his rap and all these other conspiracies. And you know me, my guy, no conspiracies, no making stuff up out of thin air, no clickbait stuff. We're just going to call it how we see it. So it's really a no issue. Jason, do you think Boots Ennis will beat Virgil Ortiz Jr.? That's a heck of a fight. That's a heck of a fight. And it looks like they're in talks to make it happen next. I want to see it. To be honest, I'm making that prediction on Box Center 2.0. You see it right there pinned on the comments. Subscribe to Box Center 2.0, my brother. I will be making that prediction. And I could tell you right now, in all honesty, I know who's going to win that fight. That's an easy one. Some predictions are real hard to make. That fight, I know who's going to win. So, subscribe to Box Center 2.0, man. Especially if you be placing bets, people that's placing bets, subscribe. I got you on that one for sure. Easy work. That one is easy for me. Eye for eye, his best chance of getting the glory back is running back with the monster. Woo. Listen, man, the monster is a fighter that is tough to say I want to fight him. Who wants to fight him and is gonna expect to walk out of there with that W? Tony Davila, Inoue can't fade Bam Rodriguez. Inoue should have KO David Picasso, but couldn't. Remember, brother, styles make fights. You're not gonna knock everybody out. It's just that simple. Picasso, and let me tell you something. Before the fight, I try to tell everybody, Picasso's a guy that's not a bum. You're not just gonna, I said it before. I couldn't say Picasso was gonna win the fight, but I say he's not just gonna get washed. He's not just gonna get put out. When's the last time, and I asked the question, when's the last time that you saw a young, undefeated Mexican fighter get knocked out? Doesn't happen often. So Picasso had the right skill set and the right style to go the distance. That doesn't mean that, Bam is this is gonna happen with Bam because look what happened. Nah. Look, if Bam fights Picasso, that fight could go the distance. Okay. That fight could go 12 rounds. So, yeah, go ahead. That fight can easily go 12 rounds. So, it's not really a way to measure what will happen if Bam and the Monster face each other. Eye for eye, Virgil Ortiz is going to make Boots turn into something we ain't never seen. Super Saiyan mode, Boots. Well, I'll tell you what. That fight, I've been asking for it. Eddie Hearn has expressed interest. Virgil expressed interest. Boots expressed interest in making it. I hope they do it. I hope they actually fight. But it looks like they're in talks and trying to make it happen. Eye for eye. That was a hell of a chess match. David was a little hesitant on pulling the gun. Though. David, I'm not sure which fight you're talking about, my G. Tony Davila, I knew Picasso was a great fighter, but he had no power, and Inoue knew that too. Just because somebody doesn't have no power doesn't mean you just go in there and knock them out, bro. A lot of fighters, they have no power. The greatest fighter of all time, considered by a lot of people, is Floyd Mayweather. He didn't have no power. Somebody not having no power doesn't mean you just go in there and knock them out. It's not the way that it works. Tony Davila, Virgil Ortiz will KO Boots. That doesn't sound like a good prediction. I'm going to be honest, that's a bad prediction. And I'm going to tell you why that's a bad prediction. Actually, a very bad prediction. I'll tell you why. Remember, I'm Jay Stradamus, right? So I'm going to give you the Jay Stradamus take on your prediction. So, Tony, this take is not even about who you're picking to win or lose. You're picking Virgil to knock out Boots. Now, Boots never been dropped in his career, never been hurt in his career, never been in no type of situation where we can say he got stunned, ever. He's undefeated. Let me be the first to tell you that when you talk about an elite, young, undefeated champion, one of the most horrible predictions that you can make is that they're going to get knocked out. That's one of the most horrible. When you predict that, that prediction is an emotional prediction. You like Virgil better than Boots. So you're like, Virgil's going to knock him out. But that's not a realistic prediction. When you look at an undefeated fighter and you say he's going to get knocked out, what are you really making that assessment off of? How decide somebody that you've never seen drop, you've never seen hurt, is going to get knocked out? You watch Madrimov distance with Virgil Ortiz. Madrimov went 12 rounds with Virgil. Why is Boots going to get knocked out? So that's an emotional prediction, not a realistic one at all. Style favor Boots. Styles make fights, and it could favor Boots. It depends. I told you I know who's going to win, but I say it depends because if Virgil is successful applying the pressure, he could offset some of those things that Boots does. So it is a competitive fight. Tony, why is Boots and even Terrence running from Virgil then? There you go. You see, now you show, Tony, that you're not making a legitimate prediction. You have more of a narrative. You have more of a narrative. So that narrative that you want to make legit, you make talking points based on that narrative. You're saying that people are running from Virgil when Crawford made 2 different offers to Virgil and his team, and they turned it down. It was Virgil, if you could look it up, it was Virgil and his team who turned down the offer. And when Boots won right now, it's Virgil and his team who didn't want to fight him. It's Virgil and his team who's been playing games. But you're going with a narrative. Tony Davila, Israel Madrimov beat Terrence Crawford. You got to get out of here. He a dummy. I don't got time for him. You got to get out of here. Side, Madrimov said, but hits harder than Virgil. I mean, look, Terrence Crawford versus Madrimov played out the way that it did, but Terrence Crawford won. I don't got time for dummies showing up over here. Nah, Madrimov won that fight. Get your dummy ass out of here. I've been already suspecting you a dummy. JJ's in there has Jay Smith, get him the fuck out of here. You know how we doing them early, man. We don't got time for the dummies and the goofballery. Come on now. Look, my peoples. All of these fights, all of these good fights, ultimately the next big one that we're going to get is Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez. That's the next big fight on the way. And one of the ways that you can measure how good a fight might be, because you just never know, right? But how good it might be, you can consider how fans feel about it as far as who's going to win. And then you realize, damn, a lot of people got Teofimo knocking him out. A lot of people got Teofimo outboxing him. Shit. This is a good fight. I5. What's he talking, bro? That's nonsense. You know there's people who join the chat just to say dumb shit and get attention and trying to disrupt the flow of the show and let me get attention for myself. Get your dummy ass out of here. Go somewhere else for that. But my peoples, I said it before, subscribe to Box Center 2.0. I know who's going to win this fight. I'm going to tell you who's going to win this fight. If you're going to place your bet, tune in. My peoples, I want to give a shout out to everybody who tuned in this morning. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Boxing for Breakfast. Um, you guys saw that the main talking point was the whole situation with AJ, that accident. You know, people lost their lives. Fortunately for AJ, he survived, but he's gonna be dealing, you know, with a tough road ahead. So I want to say, man, you know, prayers go out to AJ, his family, his loved ones, close ones who lost their lives. Rest in peace. And this right here, for the people who just always thinking about money and always thinking about who got the most and who's making the most, just remember, man, life is only one. And once you're in a life altering situation when people lose their lives, you forget about all that stuff. You forget about who's making the most money and who got the most this and most that. Come on, my peoples. Take care of your life. Let me give you the Jay Stradamus words of the day. You know, after this tragic accident, I gotta give y'all the Jay Stradamus words of the day. Just a couple weeks ago, Anthony Joshua beat up Jake Paul. And we were having fun with that. We were celebrating. Jake Paul finally got knocked out and all that stuff. And look, now he's in Africa dealing with injury, dealing with the loss of life, of loved ones, and a tough road ahead. Because now he has to deal with the physical recovery, with the therapy that he's going to go through. And tougher than that is going to be healing emotionally, mentally from this situation that he's in. So all I'm saying is, my peoples, make sure that you give priority to the most important things in life. And you know what that is? You. Your health. Without your health, you can't do shit. If you lose your legs, you can't walk, right? If you lose your hands, you can't do things with your hands. If you lose your sight, you can't see. You're cooked. So take care of your health, my peoples. Take care of yourself. And make sure in this holiday season, you watch yourself. Because you see how 2 people died in a car accident? Guess what? Right now, it's December 30th. And there's a whole bunch of people who will not make it to January 1st because they died in a car accident. A lot of people will not make it to next year because of a car accident. So if you drive safe, be careful. Do not drink and drive, my peoples. Do not smoke weed and drive. Do not do any drug and drive. Drive safe. Take care of yourself, my peoples. And let's make it to 2026. One love to everybody tuning in. I'm Jay Smith. This is another episode of Boxing for Breakfast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time, we're going to do it again, my peoples. Y'all already know what it is, man. Take care of yourself. Take care of your families. I'm out of here. Peace out, y'all. And hit the like button. Those who was doing all that ghost watching, those who was just hating on the like button, hit that like button, man. Stop playing with me. Peace.